Summertime is family time. It's a time to make memories. And right now, it's March. And although the first day of spring has occurred, it is still blah outside. And
I didn't even realize that.
we are anxiously awaiting warmer weather, sunny weather, and time to get outside and do things together as a family and with our friends, because what? Relationships are the most important things that we have on this earth. This is where we should put our treasure. And so for the last few years in March, during this sort of dead time, I have been planning out our Sundays from Memorial Day all the way through Labor Day, and it has really paid off. Now, part of the reason why I think it's paid off is because when I put energy into something, I'm like, we're going to do that, okay? And also, the other thing is that after I come up with this plan, I really like the things that I put into it. And I'm like, I don't want to miss out on that. Now, we have had to, at times, change the time frame. Like if we were doing a hike in the morning, we may have to change it to the afternoon. So we adjust with the weather. And there have also been times when we've had to switch activities completely from one weekend to another weekend. And there are some that have fallen through and we weren't, for one reason or another, able to do that particular activity. However, when I would get to post-Labor Day weekend and look back across the whole of our summer, I mean, a big smile creeps across my heart and my face because we did a lot of good stuff together. And it really was so worth the effort I put into planning. Now, the first thing that I would do is put all of the have-to things on my calendar. You know, if you have a family wedding or you have a family reunion, of course you're going to put those on the calendar. And then I would look at the weekends, that we have left and go from there. Now, if you notice that you have a lot of have-tos, I'm going to suggest saying no to some of those. Now, not the family wedding and the family reunion, but there can be a lot of things that creep into our schedule that really don't benefit us all that much, don't benefit our relationships, and don't provide for a lot of really great memories. So I'll just make that suggestion. Another thing is that this is not just for families. I mean, I think single people, widows, who else? Empty nesters. Anyone is going to benefit from putting a little intentionality into planning out their summers. So don't you agree?
Yes.
Yes.
I love those questions. Yes, I agree, dear.
No. So anyway, but we've been doing this. We've done this for the last 3 years. And actually, the first time I did it was based on financial need. We were really broke, and I wanted us to still somehow have a fun summer. So the first year I did it, it was searching all the things that we could do free. And we really did a lot of things for free. So I'm going to give you a list of like 20 things here. And some of them are free, some of them are not. But it's amazing what you can find that's free. So I'll just say that too. This does not have to be expensive. The impetus for this kind of goes back to my college education. While I was at Franciscan University, I read a couple of books in my intro to philosophy class that have affected me my whole life. And I go back to these quite often. The first one is Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. Now, since we have a theologian in the house, I thought maybe he would say just a little bit about, what you can glean from this little book.
Yeah, but he was a philosopher, and I'm a theologian.
I thought he was a psychologist, actually. Is he a philosopher?
Actually, he was a psychologist. You're right. So, I don't know. No, I'm just kidding. I actually read that book, too. I read it in college. And for those of you who don't know who Viktor Frankl is, he was in a concentration camp. And he wrote a book based on his experience and how he got through that experience. And the key insight of the book is that human beings suffer terribly when we don't have a deep sense of our purpose in life, and we're not in touch with the meaning of our life. Hence the title of the book, Man Search for Meaning.
Right.
But the key insight that he gives us is that we find meaning through transcendence. And transcendence is basically our capacity to rise above the circumstances that cause suffering and otherwise hopelessness or despair in our life, and being able to rise above that, particularly with the capacity to love. So, it's a great lesson in life, whether the things we suffer are little or the things we suffer are tremendous, but through our capacity to transcend the circumstances which cause suffering in our life and to transcend in the form of love, which is why we talk about relationships so much, that what gives us a sense of purpose and meaning in lives are our relationships primarily. So the more energy and time we put into those, and the more intentional we're about building those relationships, the more meaning we find and the greater sense of purpose we have in our life, and we find greater happiness even when the circumstances in our life don't work. And if I can, let me share a story.
Okay.
Because when I was younger, I was going through this period of depression in my 20s. And I remember my mom used to, it was great, but she used to cut out the little, these little newspaper things for Nike that said, "Just do it."
Uh-huh.
And she would put them on my bed. And then she'd always tell me, the problem is, why you're depressed, Michael, is because you need to get out of yourself and go do something for someone else. That's what she used to always tell me. So eventually I started doing that, and my mom was absolutely right about that if I would just do it, like get out of myself and go do something for someone else. So what I was doing was, when I started doing that, was actually transcending the circumstances that were causing me to feel depressed at that time in my life, and it actually really got me out of that depression. So, whoever you are, wherever you are, if you kind of take Viktor Frankl's sort of insight to heart and say, there's lots of free things you can do to just get out with people that you love, that you want to be with, your friends, your family, and go do things that have a little adventure to them, or maybe taking in the beauty of nature or whatever. It can actually be great medicine for the soul.
Right. Thank you. That's awesome. I know, because he even moved, I think it was 4 different concentration camps that he was moved around to and forced to work in. So it's amazing how suffering is oftentimes fodder for some pretty amazing insights. Nobody likes suffering, and yet sometimes it really produces a pretty amazing outcome, because God will use suffering, to do amazing things. The other book that I read at Franciscan that I really, really liked was called Leisure, The Basis of Culture by Joseph Pieper. And I'm pretty sure you read that book too, right?
I've read that book several
times. I've gone back
to it. It's a classic.
Too. Yeah, so what do we glean from that book?
Well, yeah, so Pieper basically says that the ultimate purpose of a human life is leisure, if you can actually believe that. But we do not understand what leisure is anymore today. So I would sort of help us understand this by distinguishing between work, recreation, and leisure. Okay, so in a human life, we have to work because we have to support our basic existence. And that can cause stress, and it can make us tired. So we have to recreate. And when we recreate, that is when we get exercise, when we go out for hikes, or we play a sport, or do something like that, we renew our bodies and for the purpose of working. Okay, and then but the reason we work, okay, and we work efficiently and smart, is so that we can have that day of rest, which is historically always been the Sabbath, which is either Saturday or Sunday, depending on what religion you are, right? Or I guess in the Jewish and Christian tradition, it would be that case. So, well, it probably is for Muslims too. Anyway, but the point is, there's a day of rest, and we live for that day of rest. And that day of rest is a day to do things with the higher faculties of our lives, so our minds. So maybe reading, worshiping God, serving other people through works of charity and mercy, spending time together as a family. Now, so that's kind of the order of things. In our culture, we have a tendency to do just the opposite. So we work too much, okay, for the sake of recreation, and then we just forget about leisure altogether.
Mm-hmm.
So
got it backwards.
we got it inverted. So we recreate for the sake of work, and we work for the sake of leisure. And to have that rest, that time to let the soul repose in the higher things, is a great thing to do. So part of the reason why we do these outings is because we need to make sure we get adequate recreation in our lives. So that's why we would go hiking, or, we might go take in some entertainment like a baseball game or a soccer game, or something like that. But also time for leisure. So time to relax, time to be together as a family. Like if we go to a state park and we throw out a blanket and we have a picnic.
Doing a barbecue.
We might sit there and read for a while, or we might just sit there and look out at the
football,
beauty of nature.
Boards. Yeah.
Yeah, that's recreation. Yeah. But we're kind of blending these two things. So we wanted to make sure that we had enough really relaxing recreation and leisure time in our week. And summer's a great time to do that. Obviously, in the wintertime, it's harder, at least in Pittsburgh, where we are, to go out as much. There's things to do, but it's not the same as summertime. Summertime is definitely our best month, so we like to get out and do that. So, what are some of the things that we've done? Besides what I've mentioned.
So you've already mentioned, like, we'll hit a pro baseball game. We love baseball. We're here in Pittsburgh, so we try. I'm from Ohio, so we try to hit a Reds Pittsburgh game, and I struggle with who I'm going to cheer for. And so I love it when anyone's successful at that game. So that's always one thing. We love soccer, so we'll go to pro soccer game. The Riverhounds are here in Pittsburgh, but I know there's pro tennis, pro golf. There's other outdoor, pro sports that are really fun to go and see. Some other things, and this list will be down below, so if you hit the down arrow key, and I may even skip one here as I'm trying to go through them, so you can do that after the video too. Also bike rides. So we have Moraine State Park that has a wonderful bike trail, and we've done that.
Lake Erie.
We go to Lake Erie, where we spend the whole day. Like, we'll get there early in the morning, and we'll really settle in for an entire day, all the way till the sunset, and other park walks. We have a lot of parks around here in Pittsburgh, so there's there's new parks, there's a lot of parks we haven't hit. And then, of course, there's just hitting the trails, and there's so much information on hiking trails now. You can really pick, see the details of a particular trail, pick one for length, depending on if you have little kids or how well you are able to get around. You can pick a trail that suits you, and we've had a lot of success with that. There's amusement parks, fairs. We have a local fair here, but there's the state fair. Hitting a drive-in. One year when the Lion King movie was coming out, which Lion King's a big thing for our family. We have loved that story, and it actually broke in the summer. So traditionally, we try to keep outside, but in that case, we, went to go see the movie because we wanted to see it in the theater and really hear all the sound, the music, and everything. There's also pilgrimages, and of course, planning a family vacation, or even just a weekend getaway.
Botanical gardens.
Botanical gardens. We have a big dogwood thing coming up here in May here that's going to be free some Sundays, and they're going to have a special thing around dogwoods. That's going to be exciting.
We've kayaked at North Park. Well, at least some of us have.
Yes.
We haven't all done that, but
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, North Park offers a lot of things here, so that's more parks.
Arts and crafts.
Oh, festivals.
Festival
in Pittsburgh here we have the Picklesburg Fest. We have Little Italy Days. We have a jazz festival. Also, the idea of hitting a brand new cafe that you haven't been to for a brand new, exciting coffee shop that's outdoor, or a restaurant a new restaurant, or that has outdoor seating, something like that. And those could be done after a hike or after another experience, or they could be their own thing as well. Let's see.
I think we get the idea.
Okay, all right. Well, I've listed
I'm sure
a lot.
You have your...
There's over 20, and I'm okay, I'm going to stop there. But I will put a list down below, and we really hope you'll take a look at this. We really hope you'll put a little more intentionality into your summer and into your Sabbath and your rest. And I, as a German, used to feel quite guilty about doing leisure, about having leisure, about even recreation. So, and this is just pure silliness. We need to say no to those kind of negative thoughts and really embrace this, because this is what's good for us. You know, we need this.
And as a Frenchman, I just always had a hard time finding time to work.
God put me with the right guy right here. Yeah. Uh-huh.
I'm just kidding. But I think the happiness hunch is the importance of culture and experiencing culture as a way of entering into leisure and recreation more. We're a workaholic society, people.
Yeah.
We go on the
Say
little
no
gerbil wheel.
Say no when you can say no.
We're in a hurry to get nowhere.
Right.
So this is a great summer, and actually this is just a great time to think about how can I build more leisure and recreation into my life. And actually, as Americans, I think we can give ourselves permission maybe to work a little less. You know, if you're clocking more than 50 hours a week, you're probably working too much.
Right.
If you're bringing your work home all the time and not having enough time for family and enough time to just read a book, read poetry, watch a good movie, go for a walk.
Music, concerts, that's another thing.
Concerts. You're not living a fully human life. So
Yes.
that's the whole point of transcendence and the whole point of leisure. All right, that's our happiness hunch for today.
Thanks for visiting, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, be sure to like this video and share it and subscribe down below. All right.
All right.
Take care.
Bye. You videotaped that. Summertime is family time. This is
I thought it was fun time.
no. Summertime is family time.
Oh.